Hey, it's Joddie Taylor, SnackySays. Welcome back to my podcast, the SnackySays podcast. Today I am chatting about circling back. I am circling back. I'm doing a circle back to SnackySays podcast, posts, and newsletters, things that I've mentioned before. I only have 4 or 5 things for you, so let's hop on into it. These are all follow-ups. So number 1, I am in the middle of Kenz Soliman's Marketplace Superstar course. This is a live round. The whole point is to create an online course and put it on a platform. In my case, I'm putting it up on Udemy in 7 days. It has been so stressful just because I had a strange mental block about this up until a couple of days ago. I was just doing a little bit every day, but I suppose that's all you need to do. Start and keep going, right? So things finally cleared up a couple of days ago. So I'm on track. My slides are complete. Printables ready. I just need to record this bad boy. I'm on a coffee break right now. So after I finish recording this podcast episode, I'm going to get back to the course. I can already say that I recommend it. This is my second course that I've taken with Kenz Soliman. And I'm loving it more and more. She just has this warm vibe. She gives herself a lot of grace. She gives us a lot of grace. And it's been a wonderful experience, similar to my experience with her with the Podcastify It challenge, where I created a podcast, quick story, in 7 days. That was a layup for me. Obviously, I'm already recording a podcast. There wasn't too much of a learning curve there. But this one has been more challenging. It's a different beast. But, again, I recommend it. Next up, in terms of follow-up and circling back in December, I posted a podcast episode called Ameliorating Holiday and Winter Blues, 4 Tips. In this episode, I talked about my wardrobe challenge. So in December 2023, I made an effort to wear the things in my closet every single day in December, and I would take a picture. I don't think I mentioned these leggings. They're the Adidas Terrex leggings in the actual podcast, but they do appear in the show notes because they're something I wore a lot in December. They are so comfortable. They're great for cold weather activities or for long travel days. I wore these when I went to Colombia. I can't remember if I mentioned the podcast episode, but I wore them on my way to Colombia, and just, again, super, super comfortable. I highly recommend these. They come in standard or regular and tall. When I got them, they were on sale. Adidas usually has a lot of sales. So if they're not on sale when you're listening to this, maybe wait for a sale. Maybe. I don't know how often they stock them. But I keep thinking this is something that I want to mention. I want you to hear my voice because I just think they're so comfortable. And they look good too. They do come in 1, 2, 3 right now, about 5, is that right? 6 different styles, including men's styles, trails, running, base layer. Check it out on Adidas. Next up, back in, I think this was 2022, I did a podcast episode called Chatting Paranormal Romance and Micro Starts Follow-Up. And one of the authors that I talked about was Kresley Cole, who knocks it out of the park every single time. Now, I know she has other books and other series, but I am a huge fan and follower of the Immortals After Dark series. We're about 19 books in. This latest standalone novella must be book number 20, I think. And it's called The Witch Queen of Halloween. It just came out a couple of weeks ago. Yes, Halloween in April or in March, the end of March when it came out. It's under 200 pages. I'm listening to the audiobook, but I also have the ebook. For series like this, when you're 20 books in, I say go to the library. I read or listen to most of her books via the library. And I talk about that in the other podcast episode on paranormal romance books. They're my favorite genre. They have action, romance, humor. I love her sense of humor. And with all of the characters and all of the books, she always manages to make each book somehow fresh and funny. Now, a little bit, if you go all the way back to the first book, you'll notice, because she's been writing them over 15 years now, some of it is dated. So I don't know if she'll ever go back and change it, but you'll hear people talking about like pagers or something like that, or like satellite phones. So it's kind of funny to listen to that. But if you don't want to go back to the first book, it's standalone. If you've never read any other book, you will be able to keep up and follow and know what's going on. I haven't finished it yet. Do I recommend it? Yeah, I think so. I think she has another winner here. Next up, our most recent podcast episode. Fun activities to enjoy with friends beyond dining out. So 1 week later, my friend and I went to a candle making experience. It was so much fun, and it took us under an hour to go in, sign our waivers, because you are working with hot wax. So keep that in mind. So we booked online, or I made the reservation online, booked. They took a small deposit, which you get refunded when you get checked out. It was like $4 and change, I think. We went to the WIC lab. They have 3 or 4 locations in Utah. If you are not in Utah, no worries. I did a quick search, just candle making and a city. I used Detroit, Michigan, United States, San Francisco, California, also United States, and New York City, also United States. And they all, the search all netted places you could go. So this is a storefront. You go in and all you do is make candles. It's a great place for group events. I would actually go by myself for sure. And it was really fun with one other person. You go in, they have candles all along the wall in alphabetical order, A to Z. So we scented a whole bunch of different candles, picked some scents we thought would complement each other. I ended up putting 3 scents in my candle, and my friend put 2 in hers. After we picked out our scents, then we went over to another wall and picked our glass container. We both went with clear containers, but they had colored containers and also metallic kind of aluminum looking containers. And they all had lids. Sometimes the lids came with the container, or you had to pay a little bit extra. It was about $2 extra. Next, we had to pick what kind of wick we wanted, a regular standard wick that comes in like every candle, or a wooden wick, which makes the fireplace crackling sound. So we went with the wooden wick, the wooden wick. And that again was, I think, $2 extra per wooden wick, which was fine. Then we got down to business. So the candles that we scented in the beginning had most of them had a faint smell. Not so when you get down to business, when you're at the counter, at the table. The oils that they give you are super concentrated. So if you go to this candle making experience, maybe the same place or another place, I would say if there's something you're interested in, like you usually like the scent of banana bread, which was one of the ones that were in the running for me. Once you smell that oil, it's going to be way more concentrated and a more delightful smell. So I would say if you think you're interested, put it on the list. I picked 9 different scents and then whittled that down to the 3 I ended up with. So you mix in your scents and there's a ratio to it, right? So I picked coffee, eggnog, and caramel corn. And early on, I realized if I wasn't careful, I was just going to end up with something that smelled like coffee. So play with your ratios, have fun with it, but keep that in mind. So you put your oil in once you've decided on your ratios. Mix that for 3 minutes. You don't have to keep time. They know when you start, and then they come back and they're like, okay, it's been 3 minutes. You can stop. Very carefully pour that into your candle. The wick we had already stuck in, I think, before we started mixing in our oils. And so that was already in there. And then they had finally an option to add silver glitter. I can't say no. I added silver glitter in mine. My friend was like, hard pass. No, but I love shiny things. So I added to mine. Note, they will tell you this if you go. But once the wax dries, you can't see the silver until you light your candle. So a couple of things about picking up your candle, shipping, and when to burn it. Number 1, you go back the next day or within a week and pick up your candle because it has to set. Even though I suppose you could take it with you, but I don't think it's the best. It's like hot wax. I don't think that's the best idea. If you don't pick it up in a week, it gets put on this shelf. It gets put up for adoption. And then they sell it and give proceeds to a charity. If you can't pick it up within a week or you don't want to, they will ship it to you. So you just click that option when you're checking out. And then finally, they recommend burning the candle 5 to 7 days later. So that's the follow-up to fun activities to enjoy with friends beyond dining out. We're going to be doing other things. And if you listen to On the Road with Heather, Vegan Sun, we're in the lab. We're in the lab. We recorded a couple of test episodes, or at least one. Like, we're still working some kinks out. And I thought about recording at the candle experience for like 2 seconds. And then I was like, nah, I just want to have fun. And it would have been a little awkward. I also wonder about just behind the scenes. Sometimes you go someplace and they're playing music and I worry about like copyright woes because I have this background music. Anything else? Yes, Tidy Cal, which I mentioned in a SnackySays post. I wanted to put it on your radar if you use something like Calendly and you're paying monthly. Tidy Cal, which I'm not affiliated with. I just want to mention it here. I got this on AppSumo, or you can go to tidycal.com. I'm going to click here and I think it'll just bring you to AppSumo, right? Yep, it'll bring you to AppSumo. It's $29 forever, a lifetime payment. How could I resist? It's just like, and you can transfer everything that you have on Calendly over to TidyCal. A huge shout out to Jessica Williams. She mentioned TidyCal, featured it in one of her newsletters a few weeks ago now. She's also on Substack. You can check her out at substack.com at Jess Picks. I'll put the link in the show notes, but I think it should read substack.com/at Jess Picks, Picks. That's it. That's my circle back. I have been wanting to do this for so long. A lot of times, or often, I'll think of something that I've spoken about or written about, and I'm like, I have a follow-up to that. I want to address that. I should just do a whole episode of circle backs, and I have a running list, and so I thought I would start with these. Okay, that is it. If you enjoyed this episode or any of my podcast episodes, please share with a friend or 3. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe at joddie.substack.com. That's JODDIE.substack.com. Thank you so much for listening.